with.
Yeah, we do. They can still hear us. Yeah, they can still hear us. Please. Yeah, they can still hear us. Please. Yeah, they can still hear us.
What the hell is that?
That was I went on my Facebook to share it to my page, to my personal page. But they can hear us talking right now, even though that screen is up.
Right, that's what you were saying. Okay, I was like, why do they keep saying the same thing?
Yeah, but it's we'll be starting here. Nah, man, it was a very eventful. That's a great game to come back to. That's what you said. Great game to come back to.
Yeah, it really was.
So
I mean, and it just shows how different this team is from the first game to now. Because that first game, Spurs dropped 131 on us.
Night and day. Night and day, dog. Campbell every time. Campbell, stop, bro. You made me laugh all the time. Every time we come on, he always go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We live. I know we live, dog. My boy, man. We were just talking about this COVID stuff, man. Like, pretty soon, I'm just gonna be out in these streets again, dog. I don't know about being in this house no more.
Yeah. Well, you do anything today?
Not really. Cleaned up around the house, laundry, and some other stuff, but not much. Bought me some beer the other night, so I got me some beer to get me through the week. I only drink beer on the weekend.
There we go.
There we go.
What, you was getting fat or something?
It's a decision my wife made.
Oh, you sound thrilled about it.
Oh, so thrilled. So thrilled about it. So, let's say whatever. And I was getting a little beer belly, but at my size, I can handle that, right?
Right. We just got a Peloton, so I'm about to be on it, man. Watch out.
I bought her some of those exercise bands, like the bands for Christmas, and she's been using them. I've been using them. We can't go to the gym. And before all of this started, we were big runners. Like we were just run 2-3 miles or something like that.
Yeah.
In the summertime, spring, summer, and fall before it got too cold. Oh, just to kind of try to stay in shape with that, but you know.
Yeah, Lindsay ain't about that running. I don't know why.
I do. I ran back on my app. I ran. For me, this is big. I don't know if it's big for everybody else, but I ran 3 5Ks in like 3 months. Like I ran a 5K a month.
Dang, there you go.
You know, so it was
pretty damn good to me.
And time got better every single time. You know.
Yeah.
It was good. Then fall came and just ended it.
Right. Too damn cold.
All right, let me get rid of this and we can get started. Boom. Oh, here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Kickback Presents the post-game show. This is your boy Jamal, aka Slim, with the homie Mace over there. We don't do this enough, so this is the first time we do it with Mace. Let them know where they can follow you and do all that good stuff and get to interact with you.
You can follow me on Twitter at BarnBurnerSlim. Sounds just like it's spelled just like it sounds, BarnBurnerSlim. Yes, I stole Jamal's nickname for a burner account to talk about sports, and I just kept it ever since. So, I don't. Did you know that?
No, I
But
did not know that.
yeah, well, I always loved, like, growing up when you got to pick your nickname on games, I was always Slim or Skinny or whatever version of that they had. And then you and Justin were both Slim and Slim, and I was like, all right, that's gonna be my little alias.
I'll take it. I'll take it. There you go, man. That's awesome.
Where can they find you?
And you can find me on the Twitters on the Twitters at Nerdy McFly, NERDY MCFLY, on Facebook at Jamal Body, Instagram at _kickback_podcast. And we'll be coming up with a new Instagram for the Diamond in the Bluff Podcast Network, and for this show in particular. I'm creating all that tonight. So that's my thing. I got my list written out. For some reason, I don't do things till about 11 o'clock at night. So I stay up from like 11 to 2 working on outside stuff. So that's what I'm gonna do tonight. But forget all of that. We are here to talk about the Memphis Grizzlies versus the San Antonio Spurs. First time the Grizzlies have played in 11 days, I believe that's right. And they come back looking really good. They beat the Spurs tonight 129-112. Try to treat this like I treat the Tigers games when we break them down and break it down. But like NBA games, just so different. The NBA games are just so different, man. It was good to see you have a really good first half. What are your takes on it, on Mace, before I get in on mine?
Well, yeah, first of all, if you're a Memphis basketball fan who only watches the Tigers and Grizzlies and no other basketball, like, I can't imagine the stark contrast that you experience when you turn the Grizzlies on and when you turn the Tigers on, because this was a damn near perfect game from the Grizzlies, really offensively. And you know, coming into the season, what NBA analyst would have had the Spurs sitting at 4th in the Western Conference and the Grizz sitting at 6th here at the end of January? So two teams exceeding expectations. Spurs coming off a game last night, which was Friday, when they beat Denver. So maybe we called them a little tired, but still a great win for the Grizzlies, man. You beat a team that's 11-8. Now you're 8-6. You're outperforming all the teams that were kind of expected to be better than you, like Dallas, the Pelicans, teams of that ilk. Definitely, you know, like the Kings and shit. So it's great to see them come back after the break and not struggle offensively. I think their lowest shooting percentage in a quarter tonight was 50%, and that was the fourth quarter when the game was already wrapped up. So a great offensive performance. Took them a minute to settle in defensively, but they did that pretty quickly. And, you know, they were just in control of this game from like midway through the first quarter on.
I want to speak about them defensively because, like you said, it took them a while to get settled back in, which makes sense. If you haven't played anybody, first of all, they hadn't practiced that much together in a 5-on-5 setting. So defense was going to suffer a little bit. And even when they got back to practicing 5-on-5, they're practicing against each other. So you go against somebody else. Obviously, there's some things that you have to take into account, and they got into that. It took them a minute to get back into it. But when they got back into it, you can see how good they are defensively. The fact that for the first half, they held DeMar DeRozan to 2 shots was great. This was a turn back the clock night for a little bit, at least for the first 2.5 quarters for LaMarcus Aldridge. But they kind of kept him in check as well. Just very impressed, man. There's nothing else more you can say about it. Is like, for a team that was off for 2 weeks, basically, had X amount of games canceled or postponed, still missing 3 of their top 8 players, to come out and have this type of performance and to play as well as they played on the road against a very decent San Antonio team who beat you earlier this year. It was a sight to see. And just to see, like, yeah, we've been watching NBA basketball since the Grizzlies haven't played, but to watch the Grizzlies play, you get excited about it again. Like, I mean, you and I are biased, right? We have so much stuff tied to their organization. We know too much. But to watch them play again and to be on the TV, like, it's just, to hear Pete, to hear Brevin on the TV again, like, it was just awesome. It was a good night, man.
Yeah, and you say that about Pete and Brevin, and like those guys really are like like our uncles of a whole generation of Grizzlies fans that have kind of grown up with them. We've been lucky to not have a lot of changeover, even with Fish, Chris Harrington, Chris Vernon. It's been like the same guys, of course, Jeff Calkins. So that'll be cool to look back on in like 20, 30 years when the new crop is in there. But yeah, man, the defense, like you said, LaMarcus had those 10 first quarter points. It was kind of like, welcome to the league, Xavier Tillman. This is the first test that maybe you've kind of failed in that quarter, but then I think he only scored 4 points the rest of the game.
Right.
And I love Xavier Tillman. I thought he probably played the worst on the team tonight, and he still played really well. He just finds himself in the right spot, whether it's after he sets the screen and is rolling, his timing is just elite. And then he's got great hands. It was just everyone. Like Brandon Clark had 14 points. You name it, they had a good game. John Conchar came in, gave you like 7 rebounds. Desmond Bane didn't miss a 3. I thought he had quite possibly the biggest bucket of the game. I think it was the third quarter, maybe early fourth, when Pop had Pirtle in there. And Pirtle, he was really getting a lot of offensive rebounds. Grizzlies weren't scoring. Then Bane got a quick layup where he got it to the backboard before Pirtle could block it. And then he followed that up with the 3. Huge game from the rookie, man.
Man, look, it was we were watching the game, me and my wife, and Alex said, it's so good to be confident it feels so good to be confident when somebody shoots a shot.
Is he the best shooter in the league?
and I told her, I said, bro, that's what he do. That's what he do. That's what we got him to do. He came in, billed as a shooter, and he shot. And you know what, man? I mean, looking at this team big picture, it makes me mad because you look at the pieces of this team and you just want to add them to some teams of the past, right? Like if we had Tyus Jones in 2012 or whatever, when we could not find a decent backup point guard, when we could not find a backup point guard for anything, we had a Tyus Jones or a rookie like Desmond Bane, who you don't want to call him a knockdown dead eye shooter, but he's very close to it.
Shit, he is, dude. He's 50%.
And that, what I'm saying, and that's what he wanted. So like you see the makings and the pieces of this team and how they put this team together. And then you realize that they don't even have all of the pieces there yet.
Right. No Grayson Allen, who was playing really well, shooting the hell out of the ball. But they got 60 points from the bench tonight. I mean, you had 20 from Melton, 15 from Gorgie. Like I said, 15 from Bane. And then Tyus gives you 8 and 8. And just a huge night from the bench. I mean, you're supposed to win when your bench gives you that much.
That bench unit is awesome, and it's going to change when Jaren comes back, because that puts Brandon Clark back on the bench, and then you just continue the synergy that Tyus Jones and Brandon Clark had last year and earlier this year when they were both in the starting lineup. And we talk about this team, and this is the 4th win in a row, 3rd win in a row, 4th win in a row.
6.
Oh no, this is the 6th win in a row, right?
Yeah.
And this is the 2nd since Ja's been back.
Yeah.
But then you imagine what it looked like if Ja never got hurt. You know what I'm saying? Against those same teams. This team is just fun. It's fun to watch and think about the possibilities of what this team can do. But to get back into this game specifically, before we just talk about big picture and everything else. We talked about the first quarter, the first half. The offense looked amazing. Everything was fine. I didn't really write down many notes for the first half.
Yeah, the main one I had was whichever team gets stops first is going to build a lead, which it sounds obvious, but both offensive were just clicking, but shooting a high percentage from 3, just getting really whatever they wanted. And so then the Grizzlies bench unit came in, and Taylor Jenkins switched to his zone. And that kind of got them, I think that got them 2 stops. They missed 2 wide open 3s, but still, you take what it is. And then shortly after that, we got a press, rushed them into a bad shot, and we got another bucket. So I thought Taylor Jenkins did a great job. Even late in the 4th quarter, he was still switching defenses. So I was really impressed with that, especially in the first half, to kind of build that lead for the Grizzlies. Other than that, Grizzlies had 9 turnovers in the first half, which is pretty uncharacteristic for them, and the Spurs only had 4. So that's the only reason it was an 8-point game. It was 64-56 at halftime. If the Grizzlies had taken care of the ball, that'd have been a 16-point game probably at the half, and who knows how bad they would have blown them out. 8 of 16 from 3 in the first half and shot 61% from the field overall. I mean, shit, what more can you say?
What more can you say? What more can you ask for, right? And then, like I said, they held DeMar DeRozan to 2 shots, no free throws in the first half when he went off last night against Boston. Was it Boston they played? Yeah, against Boston.
Denver. They played Boston right before that, though.
Yeah, against Denver. And so you think that he's just had a really good night. He's going to come back and try to do what he can, like try to be more aggressive. But he didn't. And, the person who gets so much flack from me, from everyone else in Memphis, but it was Dylan Brooks, man. Dylan Brooks played a hell of a first half. And he played a hell of a first half on the offensive end and on the defensive end. And to just transition to the second half, because first half of NBA basketball games are, unless something really important happens, like people blowing them out, whatever, NBA teams will come back. But in that second half, which stemmed from the first half, Dylan was frustrating the shit out of DeMar DeRozan. And he basically baited DeMar DeRozan into a technical foul. And that turned the game around, because Dylan was all in DeMar's face, just on defense, not even trying to be just all in his face. DeMar made a tough layup, like backed Dylan down, did whatever, made a tough layup, and he ended up pushing Ja, but getting in Dylan's face, and he got a tech caught on him. Dylan made the free throw, but that turned something on in Ja. Ja scored like 4 or 6 straight points after that. And he got really aggressive. And after he scored a point, he shook the shit out of DeJounte Murray on something. And he scored a point, and they called a timeout. And you can see Ja saying, "Yo, talk that shit now. Talk that shit now. Say that shit now." And I'm like, okay. All right, you pissed him off. You pissed him off, and that little run there helped break the game open for the Grizzlies.
I mean, how can you not love the kid, right? Like, all right, you're gonna push me and talk shit to Dylan, who's been locking your ass up. He hits him with what has now become one of Ja's signature moves right immediately after that play, which is the lefty scoop, where he doesn't touch it with anything but his left hand, and it might be the prettiest play in basketball right now. That is like a signature play. Not a lot of players can do that, especially not a lot of 6'3" guys who can just control the ball like that and just have the English on it every time the way he does. He rarely misses that shot. When you see that left arm extended going for a layup, it's going in.
And no matter which way if he's going toward the basket or he's going away from the basket, if he's behind the basket, if it's just the left hand, it's crazy, man. It's such a good shot.
And so right after that, which his signature shot, I think he found Tillman, and Tillman missed a bunny. And then he came back, and that's when he hit Murray with the spin move, kind of fade away. Mm-hmm. And I think Pete Pranica, he said DeJounte Murray needed a GS to find Ja Morant. Yeah. It was a classic Pete line. And then Ja went into the talk that shit. And
you said, "Yo, talk that shit now." And it's like, okay, all right. That's what he did.
I don't know how I yelled it with him. Like, as soon as I saw it coming out of his mouth, I was like, "Talk that shit."
Yo, bro, look, man. You know me, and Brevin does the same thing I do all the time when I be watching these games. We big up the Pac-12, big up the Pac-10 players. DeMar went to USC. Pac-10, DeMar was at the SC when we were in the Pac-10, not the Pac-12. But you pissed off the wrong person on the team, dog. Like, that's basically what it was. Like, you made that layup, and I think you probably cut it to 8 or 6 or something like that. And then Ja just took it upon himself to space out the lead. And Ja only did one wrong thing in my mind tonight, and we'll get to that later on. But for this to be the first game in 11 days, You couldn't have asked for more. Like, I don't even know how much deep analysis that we need to go into it. If there are any concerns, I would say the bench unit and some size. Because when Jakob Poeltl came into the game, he kind of dominated the boards on both ends, the defensive and offensive boards. But once the team rounds back into focus or gets back where they need to be, and people slide back into their slots, that gets wiped out, because the second unit will have the bigs it's supposed to have on it, stuff like that.
Yeah, and I mean, JV may be back in the starting lineup, maybe not. Might be hard to take Xavier Tillman out of the starting lineup. I said that right before JV caught COVID, and I also believe that no player should lose their starting spot due to injury or COVID in this situation. But shit, man, it'd be hard for me to bench Xavier Tillman, and it inevitably will happen. So I'm not hanging my hopes on him remaining the starting five, but I think he's shown enough to eventually that is a reasonable expectation for him to grow into the role of that starting five. And I don't think he's that far off. So as our boy Campbell's saying, he's mentioning trade. He's mentioning one player I'm not ready to part with yet, but Jonas Valanciunas, a little expendable in my book. I mean,
if Xavier Tillman can continue to show the promise that he has now, I believe there will be some conversations. Maybe not this season, because this is such a crazy season. This season is an anomaly, and you probably need as many bodies as you can have for this year.
Yeah, I mean, well, thank God we stocked up on talent, like Chris Vernon loves to say, you play guys that don't suck. And even in the midst of COVID, injuries to several players, more than most teams, we've been able to stay afloat and exceed expectations without two potential starters most of the time. That's if you include Justice, who now you're not going to start Justice over Kyle when he comes back. You're just not. You can't.
No, you can't.
And I guess that kind of transitions into a shout out to Kyle Anderson. It seemed like tonight, if it wasn't Ja, Kyle was making the big play, getting the and one. He made a couple early threes, and then Rudy had to overplay Kyle on the three, so he does a slow pump fake, dribbles right by him, shoots his little floater. Kyle Anderson's been great, man. And I was on the, he can be traded before this season, and I look like a fool now.
Well, what I think was last season he was injured, and he had the time to get it right, a little bit with the shoulder. And with Ja coming back, it starts to slide people into their rightful place. Like, never in a million years should Kyle Anderson be your second option. It's never. And that's what he was when Ja was out. And so his scoring and production dipped a little bit because he was being asked to do more than he can do.
If he wasn't your first, I mean, it was him and Dylan, and Kyle's more of a creator. So
exactly. So now with Ja being back, that slides him down back to maybe third or fourth, or Dylan third or fourth, however you want to put it. And he can do that. So you get happy with a 14-point game from Kyle, a 14.6 rebound, 3 assist game from Kyle Anderson. But when Ja is not out there, when Ja and Jaren are not out there, 14 points, 3 assists is not good enough from him. But when you have them out there, and that slides him into his rightful place. Same thing with Dylan. I got this wrong. Dylan, judging by his comments earlier this week, where he kind of took notice and took stock of, I'm not what I think I am, but I can be what I should be. If that makes sense. To be like, you know what? Yeah, I want to pride myself in guarding the other team's best player, and I'm going to take and make the shots I know I can take. I'm going to take and make the shots I know I can make. When Dylan's your third or fourth option, he's going to be great. It's your third or fourth option. Him taking 10 shots shouldn't hurt me. But when he takes 16 to 18 shots, then we have a problem. You know what I'm saying?
And when he takes the shots, when he dribbles up court, and I only noticed one of these tonight, when there's 0 passes and you shoot a 3 off the first screen. I noticed he did it once, and I noticed Ja did it once. And to me, when this team moves the ball offensively, much like the Tigers, they are much better than when they just go one-on-one, unless Ja is just in that takeover mode. But
Right.
still, he is the threat of him hitting the corner or hitting anyone on the court, because his vision is just crazy, is always a threat. So it's a little bit different when it's Ja with the ball.
Well, I mean, you say that, and they had 34 assists tonight on 51 shots.
Well, and that's what I'm saying is we only had those two possessions that I despise, where you just come down and it's no passes and you just take the first pick and you pull up for three or pull up for a long two, which when this team wasn't playing well at the beginning of the season, that was happening a lot. But then this team settled into being a defensive-minded club and also moving the ball. And it can come from anywhere on any given night. Obviously, Ja, 19 and 11, his second game in a row with the double-double. Like you said, hard to believe he's only played 5 games. And it just feels like he's definitely going to be on the cusp of an all-star this year. So maybe we'll get into that in a little bit. But has your stance on Dillon Brooks, because I know you said and by the way, me and you never talk about the Grizzlies, just so the people know. We save it all for the show. I don't know what you think about the players, and you don't really know what I think, other than a couple of group chats here and there.
No, I have been on record in saying that I hate Dillon Brooks. Dillon Brooks sucks. I mean, I do know him as a person. We've obviously met and had conversations, and as a player, I didn't like Dillon Brooks because I put Dillon Brooks in the category of a person who has what I like to call irrational confidence. You have so much confidence in yourself for no reason. I don't understand why you are so confident in your ability and what you're doing. But that I believe that was a product of the environment and the teams and stuff he was on, and that. And even earlier this year, like when Ja went down, he was a number one option. So he felt that he had to take a bunch of shots. And he took a bunch of bad shots all the time at the wrong times. And even toward the end of last year in the bubble, when Jaren went down, he went from the third option to the second option. Well, third or fourth option, however you want to play where Jonas was. And he just took bad shots at the wrong time and it ended up hurting the team. Like I said, in this pecking order, with the job being back and stabilizing it, Dillon is your third or fourth option, getting 10 to 12 shots a game, I have no problem with, because he's going to take a lot of them in rhythm. He seems to have found that he knows the mid-range is where he wants to be. He takes a bunch of ill-advised threes at times. So just like that confidence that he has, like, it just needs to be channeled. And when he's your third option, that's great. But it's your first option with that, it doesn't work. So in this game, I have nothing bad to say about Dillon Brooks in this game. The fact that he guarded DeMar DeRozan and pissed him off so much that he got a tech, and that tech pissed Ja off, and there you go. The fact that he made his open shots, the fact that he passed the ball, had assists, because Dillon also didn't like to pass. He didn't like to pass at all.
I think that's the biggest improvement to his game this year, is his ability to pass and look for others. But also, I agree, man. He's just been miscast a lot. He hasn't been on a good team since he's been in the NBA. Last year was the closest thing to it, and really a lot of injuries. And when you get into that second role, and last year Jenkins was establishing a culture. Remember, so Jay Crowder was told to shoot it every time he touched it, and I'm sure Dillon was told the exact same thing. So while I understand the fans being frustrated, I think Dillon has only done what the coaches have asked him to do. You never hear any teammates saying, "Man, like, well, somebody's shooting a little too much," and you never really hear the coaches saying, like, Dillon needs to reel it in, even in a roundabout way. So that's why I've maintained my hope, and I think this year, outside of those games when he did have to be the number one option unfairly, him and Kyle, which anyone with the NBA brain knows that those guys cannot be a number one, number two option.
Right.
Like that. So, but I'm really proud of what Dillon is becoming. He had a stretch there in the fourth quarter. Took a couple questionable shots, missed them. I think he had a turnover. He was trying to pass it, and just DeAnthony Melton jumped in the air, and like Dylan was like, "Oh, I got to pass it," and then he changed his mind right at the last second. Didn't pass it, turned over, and that was like 3 plays right in a row. Miss. And I think he even shot 2 threes on one of those possessions because we got 2 offensive rebounds. But then Ja makes a play, gets him wide open. Boom, Dylan knocks 2 in a row down. And that's where I have to disagree with, not wanting someone with irrational confidence. I think you got to have that on a good team. Someone who can get hotter than a firecracker and win you some games. He could go for 30, or he could hit those 2 shots to close out a team like he did tonight. Struggling.
In that sequence in the fourth quarter, they were up. San Antonio cut the lead to 5. It was a timeout right about 4 minutes and 30 seconds, maybe 4 o'clock. 4 minutes in the fourth quarter.
4 o'clock.
And, they called a timeout, and right out of the timeout, boom, corner 3 for Dylan Brooks. 3 for Dylan Brooks. I think we scored 8 points. Like, where down? Let me see.
Yeah, it was Derek White hit that 3, and it was 105 to 110. Then Dylan hit the 2 threes off of feeds from Ja. Really good plays in and of themselves. Then Ja hit that floater.
Yeah.
Which did he mean to bank that in?
I don't care. It went in.
Yeah, it went in. And then Ja had the lob to Gorgie. And I mean, that stretch right there, along with the stretch after the DeRozan technical, I mean, that's just superstar stuff.
Yep. That's just what makes you so kind of hopeful of this team, and you see the potential that this team has. And like, yeah, you're happy about it because it's not like they playing against the Pistons or who's the sucky team in the NBA. I can't even think about who's like the suckiest team in the NBA.
The Timberwolves.
The Timberwolves, like.
There's no team worse than the Timberwolves, and hopefully we don't have to play them again, so I don't have to talk about that.
We're playing against a decent San Antonio team who just had a very good win the night before.
3 wins in a row over good teams, and they're number 4 in the West.
And coached by Greg Popovich, and they got some of their players back. And for this to be your performance after a week and a half, 2-week layoff is amazing. Right. And so you look at the stats, 10 players played, 10 players scored, 7 out of the 10 in double figures, which is awesome.
Yeah. 60 bench points. I mean, Jesus.
Tyus Jones had 8 points, could easily have had 10. Like, that's a backup point. Like, Tyus Jones is going to play in the league for 20 years if you want to. He's going to be a backup point guard, whatever.
And when your point guard play is as dominant as it was with Ja and Tyus tonight, that's scary.
It's gonna be tough to beat.
Yeah,
tough to beat.
And then you mentioned it. They pulled it to 5 with like 4 minutes to go, and then with like 2.5 minutes to go, Pop waved the white flag.
Pop pulled all his players out. He put everybody out. Like, yo, whatever. I don't care.
That's how dominant that stretch of basketball was, and we gave credit to Ja, but defensively as well. Once again, just locked down. And this team, I would not have expected it coming into the season. They would have been one of the best defensive teams in the league. You give up 112 points, sure, but in today's NBA, that's not bad.
Well, I mean, I think Brevin said it during the broadcast. Brevin or Pete, I forget which one, was like, it was only 2 years ago this was like a drag out slugfest. Like when the Memphis San Antonio series were usually big man dominated, slow offense, very much half court offense type stuff. You didn't see this. If you saw this type of scores, it wasn't that often.
No.
No.
we lived it.
Right. We saw. I mean, just to like, I watched the highlights of Zach Randolph in the playoff series the other day, just because why not? But I'm looking at this stat line, right, and I didn't realize it that DeAnthony Melton had 20 points, which was awesome.
Inflated by 2 late threes that didn't matter, but still, even good to see him knocking down threes. I thought he was really aggressive early on, looking for a shot. He didn't. I think he went like 0 for 3 to begin the game, but it's just a sign that he is confident offensively, which in the bubble last year he was not. So just another sign of improvement for a player who's locked in under contract for the next couple of years.
Gorgie gave you 15 and 7, which is a great thing to see. And then like when Jonas comes back and Gorgie's minutes get cut, you can just depend on some of the production he gets you in not as many minutes.
Yeah, I mean, he stayed ready. He was out of the rotation before JV got COVID. So what a nice utility to have on the team, a 7-footer who can come in and do what he did, or doesn't complain or doesn't seem to complain when he's not playing, probably because he's making $17 million.
How did Minnesota get him that contract?
I don't know.
Like he should send his agent. He should give his agent $1 million a year every year.
Hey, you know what? He seems like a really great person. I know he does a lot of charity work in his home country. So if anybody, had to walk into that type of money, I think it fell into good hands.
Oh yeah, I'm not hating. Hey man, get paid.
I mean, we hating a little bit, like 17 million. Gordon Jerry.
Hey, you get paid. That's what Dolph said. That's what Dolph said. You know what I'm saying? But all right, let's tackle this question that Campbell asked. What can we get? I'm gonna put it on the screen because I don't necessarily agree with the first part of it. What can we get for Jaren in the trade? And Justice Winslow can be an add-on. So I guess the big controversy, if you want to use that word, is for this week was when it was known that the Grizzlies were coming back to play, and they had media availability. The team really didn't give an update on the injury status of Jaren and Justice. And so they had a lot of people contemplating and thinking what was going to happen. And they went back to what we were told at the beginning of the season is that Justice would probably be ready before Jaren. And here we are, whereas Jaren and Justice and nobody's ready. So, like, what's the deal? I don't see. We're not going to get rid of Jaren. We shouldn't trade Jaren. There's no even thought about trading Jaren. Jaren and Ja are the future of this franchise. What I'm worried about is what we're going to do with Justice. And if this season comes and goes with us not seeing him in a uniform, is that a failure? That's a question. Is it a failure? Is it bad? Well, we did give up Solomon Hill, who was a solid bench player. Jay Crowder, we're probably going to lose him at some point anyway. If we don't see Justice in the Grizzlies uniform, how does it make you feel?
Well, obviously, first of all, it would suck. Second of all, let's go back to that trade. So Jay Crowder was going to be a free agent after the season. So was Solomon Hill. If you keep those two, and Iggy never showed up, so he was never going to be a part of the team anyway. So his only benefit to the team was as a trade asset. And then with Jay Crowder and Solomon Hill, if they stay on the team, maybe you get that AC. I can see that. You probably do get that AC. You probably beat Portland in those bubble games, and you probably win a few more games once Jaren goes down because those guys are vets and experienced, and Jay Crowder, he's got that kind of impact, I'd say. But then what? Then you play the Lakers and get beat by 24 games in a row, right? And just demoralize your young core. I don't think that's good experience, and I really don't think that team could have given the Lakers any trouble at all. So then you come back to Justice Winslow. Didn't play last year. He was ready to go right before the season got shut down. And then, we didn't see him in the bubble. This year, I'm pretty sure the first reports had him coming back late December and Jaren coming back around MLK. Mm-hmm. That could have been a guesswork. I can't remember where I read it, who reported it, but that's what's been in my mind ever since the season started. And obviously that's not happened. If Justice Winslow doesn't play this year, I would be disappointed, but also he has a team option for next year. We're not locked into him. It's not the end of the world. It's not Chandler Parsons. It's not 3 more years of $25 million down the drain. Right. If he doesn't play and we want to get rid of him, we can. But also he's a Dookie. We know Zach Kleiman is a Blue Devil himself and a fan of the Blue Devils. So and Justice was brought here to be that starter. So there's no way you can grade the trade positively. I guess I'm just not one who grades it negatively because I think it was just it is a wash. You took a chance on a guy who's been injured, and then maybe it's a freak injury, and maybe he gets it right, and you pick up his team option for $10 million next year, and he's a solid bench player. Like I said, I don't see him starting above Kyle Anderson. Not this new Kyle Anderson ever. Not the next 2 years.
That's the thing. Like, Justice not playing is giving all this opportunity to Kyle to show you how valuable he is. And if we give you some time this year to let you round back into shape, and you ain't what Kyle is, bro, you might be on the bench. Now, I don't know if you want to pay a bench. I don't know. What we're paying DeAnthony. I know he just signed a new contract.
Right around 10, but then is it kind of redundant? Limited offensive players, superb defensive players, but Melton. At least we're seeing Melton get better offensively. We ain't seeing nothing from Justice.
Do you want to pay 2 bench players $10 million a piece?
Probably not.
You know what I'm saying? And so that's when the finances come into it.
But you got Ja and Jaren on their cheap deal, so maybe you can afford it right now.
You can. Maybe you can get them for a 10. Maybe you get them a 2-year, $21 million, something like that. So by the time Ja and Jaren are done with their rookie deals, he's done. And you figure out what you want to do because you obviously re-signing Ja and Jaren. Then you just figure out that. Yeah, I'm kind of with you. To me, there's nothing but upside with it. And whether the upside is we got something good, so we're going to keep it, or it's we thought we had something good and we got something, whatever. We got a chance to see. And I will say this. I think I heard somebody else say it earlier this week. Like, if he doesn't play now, I don't know if he'll still be in the league. Like, he hasn't done enough to warrant another contract from somebody else. It's gonna be a make good contract. Like a non-guaranteed, whatever. Once you get past, once the league resumes its regular calendar, you gonna have to make a team and stay on a team before you get some guaranteed money. If you're Justice, if he doesn't play this year, doesn't play well, Jaren. I mean, I think we know that Jaren is a part of the future of the franchise. There's no need to rush him back. There's no need, like, if he's ready to come back, play him. If he's not, if there's still some issues, fine. I think I read somewhere there might have been an issue with the surgery, which we've seen before. Was Jordan Adams, right? Who went and had a knee surgery that somebody botched and it screwed him for 3 years. But Jaren is a key part of the future of this franchise. So you give him the time. But with Justice, as fans want to see Justice. And I think they need to find a way to see him.
I mean, to me, Jaren is way more worrisome. Hasn't finished the season yet. Didn't finish his rookie season. Didn't finish his sophomore season. And kind of injured throughout. So while I can remain optimistic in what you just said, is like, yeah, it is, we got to get him right and stuff. It's I can understand why you would be worried and think like, oh shit.
As a Grizzlies fan, we are conditioned for the worst of the worst.
And I mean, you had him and Porzingis with the same injuries reported. Now it might have been different grades or numbers to these injuries or however they're done. And Porzingis has been back like 3 weeks now. And Jaren is still obviously the Grizzlies aren't telling us anything about injuries since Wexler and Kleiman took over, which is fine. Keep it close to the vest is better than Chandler Parsons and his agent leaking fights in the locker room. I prefer my organization that I'm a fan of to look professional than look like a clown show. So I'm fine with them keeping things close to the vest, but I would like a little bit like okay, so here's my most optimistic outlook on Jaren and Justice, right? They were close to coming back, but then the team got shut down, so they couldn't really keep their conditioning level up. So maybe it's a conditioning issue, and because the team had to take that week off, now they're kind of slowly working these guys back up to game speed, because you already know this team takes their time getting people back into game speed. And I wonder if that new health and safety thing has a certain time, number of practices or something that guys can play. Because JV and Grayson Allen were both on the bench tonight, but they're in the health and safety protocol. So I wonder if it's a conditioning deal.
Well, Jonas thought he was going to play. Like, he tweeted yesterday that he was going to play.
Oh, yeah. So maybe it's a team thing. I mean, this team is so careful. Ja only played like 30 minutes. Like, they don't play our guys big minutes. They don't do anything. They are managing these players for the future.
I think there was, before this season started, I think there was a conversation from the higher-ups that said, you know what? This is a very different season. The outcome of this season will be what it be. Let's do X, Y, and Z. You know, like.
Yeah, and it's understandable because the only player we don't have under contract for next year, I think, is Gorgie Jang, unless I'm missing someone. So this is a team you have control of for a couple of years. Right. All of these guys, and they're playing well too. So it's not like, oh, let's float this guy for trade chips. It's like we can wait because we've got a bunch of pieces that are working together right now, and we like what we're seeing.
Yeah, and like, I mean, it's you're building the culture. You're gonna keep. Of the top 10 players, like you said, you got 7, 8 under contract for at least the next 2 or 3 years. So you're building. You want to make sure that you have the best of those, and you go from what you get. You go where you can. You get where you can get to. Damaged goods, Campbell says about. I'm assuming he's thinking about Justice.
No, he's probably saying Jaren, maybe.
You might say Jaren, because I mean he wants to get rid of Jaren. He just said, "What can we get for Jaren?"
Yeah, like I already made my case about Justice. You know, it's not that big of a deal to me. It'd be great if he works out. It'd be awesome if he plays a couple games this year and is dangled as trade bait for someone. But like I said, for Jaren, man, it is worrisome. Damaged goods, maybe. Hope not.
The thing
I can't form an argument that he's not.
Right. The thing that makes me mad about Jaren is I hate Jaren's jump shot. I hate his jump shot. It is wet, but it doesn't look like it has any mechanics to it at all. You know what I'm saying? Like
it reminds me of a high school girl.
Like you think about a jump shot and you know elbow in, L shape. None of that with his jump shot. But it goes in. I mean, I'll never forget my freshman year of college. At Arizona, came in. I'm rebounding from Mustafa Shakur. Stoph had a kink in his jump shot, like kind of a weird jump shot. And it was Miles Simon and Coach Olsen talking about it. And Coach O said, man, you know, people always talk about Stoph and his jump shot, da-da-da. He said, you know what? It go in. I'm not. If it was bad, I would change it, but it ain't no use in changing it when it go in. So that's the thing. That's the thing with Jaren. You know what I'm saying? Like Jaren jump shot don't look good to me, but the motherfucker go in when it go in. So what can I say?
Wise words from a pretty decent coach.
I think Coach O knew what he was talking about, man.
And what I lean on for my Jaren inspiration is you go back to the game in the bubble. And he was dominant. He's hitting the spin move, dunking on people, hitting the three. Honestly, I think Jaren has, and I think Ja Morant is going to be like one of the best players in the NBA. I think Jaren's upside is right there. I think Ja's more likely to reach it, but I think Jaren can be that type of player.
You left the Grizz before we drafted, right?
Yeah, I left in summer 2017. Kawhi put me out. And I was gone.
Oh, it was that playoff? It was that playoff?
Yep.
Well, the playoff.
We don't blow or the take that for data playoffs, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. And then Fizz got fired this first season, I was gone.
Okay.
Because I was racist. Yeah.
Damn, it's been a long time. Good Lord. We always just think Jaren is so. Jaren was so much of a kid off the court, but on the court, he's just so serious about his shit. So it's going to be interesting to see how when he comes back, if he comes back, how he responds to all of this. So before we get to our superlatives, one more question about the Isn't it going to be interesting that John Morant is going to be a All-Star before Mike Conley was an All-Star?
Hey, you know what? I've been thinking about that. And you know who leads the league in plus minus this year by like a lot?
Is it Mike?
It's Mike Conley. I think it's interesting that John Morant potentially should be an all-star and Mike Conley is going to get it this year. I would love for Ja's first all-star experience to also be Mike's first all-star experience. So how cool would that be?
I was on Reddit. I was on the Memphis Grizzlies Reddit earlier today. And apparently the Utah Jazz fans are calling upon Memphis fans to help vote Mike into the All-Star games. Like, hey, look, this is the time, we know y'all wanted Mike to be an All-Star and he played All-Star. He played well enough to be an All-Star with y'all and he's playing well enough to be an All-Star with us. Why don't y'all help us out by voting Mike to be an All-Star? And some Grizzlies fans like, yeah, we'll do it, but we got Ja Morant now. And, I voted for both of them. And if you voted on Twitter today, each vote counted for 2 times if you voted for Twitter on All-Star today. I just thought something I thought about during the game, like it would be very interesting if Ja Morant's Mike has never been an All-Star. So if Ja Morant's first All-Star game came before Mike ever became an All-Star.
Yeah, and I would just say, folks, don't compare their careers. 2 completely different players, 2 completely different needs for the franchise at the time, and both great in their own right. And I hope they both All-Stars. You get to vote for 2 guard spots. Vote for those 2 guys.
Ja would have been traded if he was in Mike's shoes. In the situation that Mike was in at the time the franchise was in, they didn't need a player like Ja. They needed a player like Mike. And yeah,
who knows? The grit and grind era would have been completely different. So that's a conspiracy we don't even need to dive into. Let's get into the superlatives. What's the first one we usually do? Who was your player of the game?
My player of the game, Kyle Anderson. Kyle, I didn't pull the numbers for all of his games against the Spurs, but it seems like Kyle always plays well against the Spurs. Obviously, that's his former franchise, his former team that drafted him, team that brought him into the league. Played well tonight, man. 14 points, couple assists, couple rebounds. So my player of the game was Kyle Anderson.
Yeah, and seemed like he deflected passes whenever the Spurs started going on a run. Just
steals. Yeah, he got 2 steals in a row. Yeah. So
right. I'm so excited about this one. I mean, we've already talked 53 minutes for about one game. My player of the game, I think I've got 3 options right here. I've got Ja, too easy. Melton, because he didn't play last game and came back and got 20 and 5 and really sparked us in that first quarter defensively when we needed it. But I'm going to go Dillon Brooks, 14 points, and taking DeMar DeRozan completely out of the game after he's kind of been on a scoring tear. And then Dillon was also a plus 17, led the team, him and Brandon Clark, both plus 17s, and hit those 2 big threes late to bust the game open. So shout out to Canada.
Shout out to Canada. I had Dillon was my second place player of the game. And that your explanation leads to my bum of the game, who was DeMar DeRozan.
Easy answer.
You're like, DeMar DeRozan, you stunk up the joint, my guy. They were throwing tomatoes at you. They were booing you, dog.
Had a little temper tantrum, didn't it? Got a bucket.
You got a bucket and just stare. Got a bucket, pushed the wrong dude, and then stared down Dillon Brooks. And Dillon was like, nigga, what are you like, bro? Like, what do you want? Whatever. Like, nigga, you got 6 points.
All right, Dillon ain't worried about no drama, man. He got like 4 baby mamas calling him out on Instagram. He ain't worried about your little on-court drama.
You think you trying to elbow me in the neck is going to cause a problem? No, brother. You know what I'm dealing with in my text when I go back to the locker room?
And you just pissed Ja off? Like, that ain't good, fool.
Now, granted, Ja flopped. That push, that push is not that much. But nah, DeMar's my bum of the game. Who you got?
Mine too. I mean, that's an easy answer.
Yeah. So play of the game. What was your play of the game?
There weren't there were some highlights, but there weren't any like true ESPN highlights. So I guess I'm going to go with when Ja hit DeJounte Murray with this spin, kind of baseline fadeaway, and went into the talk that shit. Just because it capped off an amazing Ja run, and just with that talk that shit moment to DeMar, it was great.
All right, I think that's a good one too. I'm going to see if I can do this. Oh my god, there's some glitter on my face.
We got video.
I gotta. Well, apparently ESPN puts the NBA games up before they put the college games up, so we got some video. But this play right here, I guess I can't do it full screen. But it's a layup in the first quarter. At the end of the first quarter, where Ja drives and he hangs under the rim and uses his left hand, like we talked about, use the English off the glass, and just lays that jump like it's.
Bro, he's like behind the backboard when he releases it.
Yeah, like that was my play of the game right there. I mean, I think it helped with at the end of the first quarter, like I said, we went to the second quarter with a 6-point lead, I think, or something like that. And it just kind of cemented how aggressive Ja was going to be. So that was my play of the game. It was an and one. It was awesome.
I mean, there's at least one play every game that Ja does. Just like how did he do that?
Right.
And that play came right after Desmond Bane hit a 3 off the dribble, showing a little expansion to his game, not just a catch and shooter, but being able to hit that 3 off the bounce just makes him that much more effective.
And even thinking of Desmond Bane, there was a play where Tyus Jones drove middle, and I think he jumped in the air, and he hit Desmond in the corner.
Mm-hmm.
And wasn't in the corner. Desmond had to float to the corner while the ball was in the air. Caught it with both feet set out as he was moving, which is tough. Let that hoe go. Boom, nothing but net.
All right, man. So did you win any money?
Did I win any money tonight? The answer is no.
What?
No, I didn't. So I didn't bet on this game individually. Like I didn't bet. I wanted to see how the Grizzlies looked, so I didn't want to put any money up. So what I did was I did a parlay. It was a 5-game parlay with different stat lines from every game. So it was like the Bulls versus Portland. I bet that Damian Lillard would score more than 25, and then whatever, like somebody would get. So the whole parlay hit, and I needed Ja to score more than 20 points, and he ended up with 19. Ja ended with 19. If he hit one more layup or whatever it was, they would have won me about $60, $70. I would have turned $5 into $70. But he only had 19. So yeah, that's what it is. But I'll be back to betting Grizzlies games as a whole. This next game I'll bet on. I wanted to see him first before I did anything.
I think that's understandable. I think that's completely understandable.
And so Ja had 40 points the game against them earlier. Like he'd get 20. And what happened was he scored 8 in the first quarter, or 6 in the first quarter, 2 in the second quarter. And in the third quarter, he shot 2 or 3 shots, but the team was playing so good that he was distributing. And, he makes a bucket in the third quarter and everything stays the same. I get it. But
yeah, he really just had those 2 stretches of dominance.
Right.
And the rest of the guys were playing so well. So we'll see Monday. The Spurs, I mean, after Pop took the starters out and waved the white flag, they're going to be coming out Monday in San Antonio once again with a whole new defensive game plan. They don't want to give up 129 points again. I can tell you that. That the Spurs are a good team. They've got players that I really like. They got a lot of guards. They're going to have to figure out who's going to stick and who they're going to trade to get the other pieces they need. But Keldon Johnson, I really like.
They need the big. They need a real big because the market's all in it.
Well, they're stuck. They got DeRozan and Aldridge, and they're old, but they got a bunch of young players. But right now they're winning, so I guess they'd stick with it. But I wouldn't be surprised to see them selling DeRozan and Aldridge at the trade deadline to build that team. And I mean, they're not far from being a team that's going to be competing with the Grizzlies in the Southwest Division for years to come, just based on young talent. The Spurs, I mean, the Mavs and Pelicans should. Those teams are underperforming, man, and the Grizzlies are overperforming big time.
I can't. I mean, there's always been a mini rivalry between the Spurs and the Grizzlies for however it's been. You would like for there to be one between the Pelicans and the Grizzlies, just because with the young talent that each team has, you think that would be something that would come up. Same thing with the Mavs. Like, you just look at this at this division and the teams in this division. It should be tough, man. And to just put it in perspective, the Spurs were favored to win this game by 3.5 points.
Wow.
The Spurs were a 3.5 point favorite, and the over/under was 219, and the over/under got destroyed. It was 190 at the end of the third quarter, so you knew they were going to get that.
Grizzlies had 100 points.
And the grid, so that's what I need to look up stats about what the record the Grizzlies have when they score 103. When they score 100 points in 3 quarters, I'm sure they don't lose that often. I'm sure they don't. But we spent an hour on this game. This is the longest I think we ever talked about one of these post-game shows. So, ladies and gentlemen, this has been the Kickback Presents, the post-game show. This is us breaking down the Grizzlies versus the Spurs on January 30th. We're going to do this after every Tigers or Grizzlies game. Now, thank God the Grizzlies are back. We doing this thing, which apparently means we might be doing this every night in a week or two, because Grizzlies game, Tigers game, Grizzlies game, Tigers game. We'll see.
Hey, bro, I think it's going to be a Memphis Monday night. I think the Grizzlies and Tigers both play at 5 p.m. local time, or 7 p.m. local time, maybe 5 p.m. my time. So I think we're going to have our first ever double show.
That's going to be great. That's going to be fun. And we might try to get an extra guest or two on that, because that's going to be a good time. So once again, Mace, let the people know where they can get with you, and I'll let them know you can get with me.
At Barn Burner Slim, at Mason Massey. You can find me also on the Backdoor Cut Show on anywhere you get podcasts. And those ats are for any social media. Just look me up.
Same thing here. Like I said, on Twitter at Nerdy McFly, on Twitter at Kickback Not on One. I think that's the Twitter. On Instagram at _Kickback_podcast, and on Facebook at the Kickback Pod. Down in the Bluff Media Network. That's what we do, man. Kickback Presents, the post-game show. We thank you guys for listening. If you haven't subscribed already, subscribe, follow, and we'll catch y'all on Monday for the Tigers and the Grizzlies game. And with that being said, peace.
Peace.